Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Houston. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we are set for the semifinals. Number one in the world, Owen Turtenwald on four-color rally. Comes in as a fourth seed. He's playing against Brock Mosley, who was actually an eighth seed, last seed here, playing Red Obzon. One of the names for this type of deck. A lot of different four-color decks in the format right now. This is one of them.
Nia Black.
Sure.
John Dwight.
Yeah. Pick your poison. So any early thoughts on the matchup here? You've had a chance to take a look at the deck list, at least preliminary here. What are you seeing?
I like Owen's side of it. The reason being, Brock is playing a deck full of removal. He's got a ton of removal spells. That's great. Those things are good. Play against Rally the Ancestors, things change a little bit. Brock does have a main deck Kalidas, and he does have two Inoffensas in his sideboard, all of which exile Owen's creatures instead of having them die. But Owen still just is so well set up to play an attrition game. He's got Elvish Visionaries, he's got Jaces, and Collected Company and Rally are both very good against removal spells. If Brock's going to cast Crackling Doom against Owen, he's going to sacrifice a creature, and then he's going to get all his creatures back.
Now, what does Brock have in the way of pressure? We see it's Obzon. Is he Siege Rhinoing here?
He does. He's got Siege Rhinos and Goblin Dark Dwellers. Those are both kind of high-end threats, but they are good threats. He also has 3 Sylvan Advocates, which they don't do a ton of damage early in the game, but they do rumble later, and they can make Brock's Shambling Vents a little bit bigger. He's got 4 Shambling Vents in his deck as well.
Slow start here for Mosley. He has tap land into tap land, hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, and his deck isn't really built to curve out. It's built to just start getting 2-for-1 starting on turn 3. He has actually his main deck Radiant Flames in his hand, so he might be able to get Owen a nice little 2-for-1 here if Owen doesn't play around Radiant Flames. Not that he should. It's just not the kind of card you expect to see main deck all that often. Even if he does know Brock has it, he knows Brock can't be playing a ton of copies. That's just not that likely.
Yeah, Brock's going to have to find red mana for that as well. Looks like Evolving Wilds is going to get cracked first thing here for Turtenwald. Or excuse me, discarded to Jace.
Yeah,
he's already got plenty of lands.
He's got an Elvish Visionary in hand, and he's deciding presumably what to cast. I think Elvish Visionary does make the most sense.
Okay, he's going to run it, finds himself a Reflector Mage, one of his primary ways of interacting with his opponent's board to try to set himself up to win.
And so a reason Owen might not want to have cracked Evolving Wilds, and why he might want to play like Sunken Hollow or Prairie Stream instead of Polluted Delta, is that he doesn't want Jace to flip. He doesn't have a spell to play off it. He would rather keep using the loot ability, and right now he can loot and there'll be 4 cards afterwards, which means Jace wouldn't flip yet. But Brock also knows that, and Brock has to worry about Jace flipping, so now might be a good time to use like Kolaghan's Command to kill Jace, make Owen discard, or use Radiant Flames. Basically use some removal spell in order to make it so Owen doesn't get full value off the Jace. He could also just use Fiery Impulse and then play the Sylvan Advocate.
It does look like that's what he's going to do. That does get him the earliest pressure that he can get, and he knows he can't just let Owen sit there forever. So he's going to play the Advocate after Fiery Impulse here, and Owen's going to draw yet another fetch land off the top of his library there.
So
he's got a Cutthroat in his hand, as well as a Collected Company that he can go for here.
Yeah, and presumably he's gonna be casting Collected Company, whether it's on his turn or Brock's turn. But against a deck without counterspells that has a lot of removal, you'd much rather wait on the Company.
Yeah, somehow Brock found it in his heart to not play blue. Running every other color.
Well, he's got enough 2-for-1s, and Obzon Charm and Read the Bones do draw cards. It's kind of funny that he's got Read the Bones over Painful Truths. We're seeing a lot more Painful Truths in the tournament.
Yeah.
The reason being Goblin Dark Dweller. Painful Truths is not a combo with Dark Dweller. You didn't spend any mana on the spell. But Goblin Dark Dweller plus Read the Bones, that works out just fine.
All right, so this is an interesting setup here. Brock has led things off. No land, just attack with Sylvan Advocate. And Owen's going to take the opportunity to fire off Collected Company here and maybe see if he can't find a good block for that.
Yeah, if he finds almost any of his 2/3s like Catacomb Sifter, I guess Reflector Mage would bounce the Advocate, but if he finds like a Catacomb Sifter, he's got a nice little block here too. Even an Nantuko Husk could be good.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here it is, Collected Company number 1. This is a really important part of the game is what do you hit with it? And he did. He hit a Visionary and it looks like a Sifter as well.
Yeah, and Owen's going to take a look, and he could get a Sidisi's Faithful, but I like Visionary Sifter like you said. This also lets him block the Advocate with like a Visionary and a Sifter, kill the Sylvan Advocate. Unfortunately for Owen, it does mean that he's going to maybe get his board wiped by Radiant Flames, but that doesn't matter. See, look, This is why the matchup is in Owen's favor, at least unless there's a Kalitas or Anafenza on the board. Even if Brock goes Radiant Flames, kill your 4 creatures, Owen got to draw 2 cards off Visionaries. He gets to scry 3 times off Catacomb Sifter. His hand is another Collected Company now.
Yeah. And then he'd just be digging for a rally at some point and generate enough value to put this thing away. Players are playing to make it to the finals. The winner of that wins $10,000 plus the trophy.
And 8 pro points.
And a hefty 8 pro points. Not that Owen needs them, but
Well,
you know, he's making a run for Player of the Year.
I mean,
here.
winning a second Player of the Year title would be momentous. Not very many people have won 2.
Especially when somebody's creeping up on Hall of Fame eligibility as well.
So the Advocate does kill the Visionary and then deal 1 to the Catacomb Sifter. And then Brock can either finish off the Catacomb Sifter with a Kolaghan's Command or cast Radiant Flame to pick up the token and the 1/1. But if I'm Brock, I'm not really feeling all that optimistic about all this. Like, yeah, I'm killing Owen's cards, but I'm not really getting a ton of value while doing so. And looks like he's going to get back the Advocate rather than force Owen to discard. I wonder if there were more Kolaghan's commands or Kolaghan's in the top 8 of this Grand Prix. There are certainly more Dromoka's commands than Dromoka's, unfortunately. But that one might be close. I'm not sure if you should be allowed to play Kolaghan's command unless you have at least 1 Kolaghan in your deck. Same with all the other ones.
That's the rule you want to put in place.
I'm just saying that for flavor reasons. So Owen having that Eldrazi sign is actually really good for him because now he can play Zulaport Cutthroat and still leave up Collected Company.
Oh, that's really nice. He'll even get a trigger from the Cutthroat. So passes the turn back to Brock. Mosley draws his card for the turn.
And again, the fact that Owen gets to play at instant speed, very good here because if Brock were to use Radiant Flames in order to make it so Zulaport Cutthroat didn't get out of control, Owen could float a mana off the Eldrazi sign, wait for that to resolve, and then cast Collected Company.
Looks like he's just going to go for Siege Rhino, though, Mosley.
I like that.
He seems to be prioritizing getting a threat down here.
Yeah, and the thing is, Radiant Flames just doesn't really accomplish all that much. The only way that Brock is going to win this game is if he actually pressures Owen before Owen goes off. I think Owen's getting a little too close to that point, though.
Yeah, here's Collected Company number 2, and he does have hits here.
This might. I think this is just lethal because he hits Husk Sifter, then untaps. Well, I guess Brock is at 22, so maybe not just lethal, but Owen does have a rally in his hand already.
He does? Oh.
Yeah. So he drew 1 last turn.
Yep.
So Husk plus Catacomb Sifter leaves Owen with 5, 6 mana, 7 mana once he plays a land and has the token. Is that enough to rally and play a Reflector Mage? It does not look like he has quite enough mana there.
Owen Turtenwald creeping towards victory number 1 here in the semis. Now, in our other semifinal match, we've got Mark Jacobson and Andrew Cuneo battling. We'll be checking in with them in between games here.
And Owen just going for double Nantuko Husk here and just really applying a lot of pressure to Brock. Owen ahead on board without even casting the rally. He can Reflector Mage the Siege Rhino.
He's just attacking with everything here.
I think he's just got enough now with... The reason you get double Husk is so you can attack past the Rhino. You know a Husk is getting through. You eat everything, and then you rally and you eat everything again, and that should be enough. Because
he can sack 3 things, then 9 things.
Yeah, he can sack 3 things,
or 10 things.
3 things, which deals essentially 9 damage, plus the 2 Husk original damage, and then
both Husks are getting through anyway.
Well, once you can't block 1 Husk, it's kind of the same.
Yes.
And then you get back 1, 2, Catacomb Sifter counts as an additional 1, 3, Elvish Vision is 4, Husk is 5, Zulaport is 6. So this is like way more than lethal.
This is easily lethal. And of course, the shields are fully down for Mosley
plus
here, so
Jace
Turtenwald just gets to do this with no fear whatsoever. And Brock is going to have seen the writing on the wall here. Pretty tough here. He had a perfectly reasonable draw, and he just got smashed by Owen Turtenwald in game 1. So Brock is going to have to work hard, dig into that sideboard, and try to come up with a way to combat this deck. I'm sure he's played against it before. And Owen Turtenwald's up a game.
It does get better for Brock post-board. He's got 3 copies of Hallowed Moonlight, as well as the 2 Anafenzas. He also has Infinite Obliteration, which not just an anti-ramp sideboard card. If you put in Infinite Obliteration and you name Nantuko Husk or Zulaport Cutthroat, then this becomes a lot more manageable.
Yeah, before Ailey was printed, that was particularly a good plan, naming the Husk. Really transformed the rally deck into a much more fair version, and a fight that a deck like what Brock is playing could actually go to toe-to-toe with.
Owen doesn't get quite as much post board, but if he is anticipating Hallowed Moonlight, then he gets Duress or Dispel in order to fight back against it.
Looks like our other matches also shuffling. They have finished their game one. I'm going to get a result for you for that one. Mark Jacobson and Andrew Cuneo.
Yeah, we saw 2 copies of the Rally deck make top 8, as well as 2 copies of Hardened Scales.
All right, update from our other feature match. Andrew Cuneo up 1 game over Mark Jacobson. Mark really having an incredible run here this weekend. He was undefeated going into the last round of Swiss. He did end up losing that to Brock Parker, but Mark picked right back up again and won his quarterfinal match. But now he finds himself down a game against Andrew Cuneo and facing elimination from the tournament. So successful no matter what, but I'm sure he'd love to finish strong after having barely lost a match coming in the top 8. Just 1 match.
Yeah, he certainly ran through the Swiss rounds quite well. You see players taking a look at deck lists in the top 8. Looks like we are exchanging deck lists for this tournament, which doesn't necessarily happen at every Grand Prix, but you know, it is at the discretion of the head judge.
Does this favor one player or the other?
I think it's much, much better for Owen to have no deck lists, because Brock is playing against Rally. Rally is not a deck that has a ton of variation. I mean, there are some. Like, for example, you see Owen has 2 CC's Faithful, 1 Ailey, 1 Grim Haruspex. But if you take out the Ailey and Grim Haruspex and put in 4 CC's Faithful, all of a sudden it's just, that's what you would expect.
That's the list you'd expect.
You're not getting a ton of value by knowing that difference. Owen's sideboard also, he's got 2 copies of Despise, which is not a card every Rally deck plays. But other than that, again, not a huge difference. So
looking at Brock's deck lists, there are very few 4s on this list, Luis.
Right, and Brock is also just playing a deck that has good cards in 4 different colors, so there's not a real good way for Owen to know what Brock would be playing, whereas Brock, even without seeing a deck list, could probably write down an approximation of Owen's deck list within like 5 cards, whereas Owen now gets to see like, oh, he's got now 2 Radiant Flames, oh, he's got now a 1 Kalitas, 2 Anafenza, 3 Hallowed Moonlight, so he knows exactly what he needs to prepare for.
Yeah, Brock's sideboard also populated with a lot of 1-ofs. He's got the 1 Infinite Obliteration, the 1 extra Radiant Flame.
He does have 3 Dark Dwellers in his deck, so playing sorceries or instants that cost 3 or less, which is what Dark Dweller can flash back, gets an additional value. So cards like Infinite Obliteration, you can just go obliterate Dark Dwellers, obliterate Dark Dwellers. So he's got a couple different options available to him.
Yeah, you mentioned the Anafenza the Foremost. He has 2 of those in his board, so those will for sure come in. And then I also see the 3 Hallowed Moonlight going to be pretty important too.
Yeah, that is certainly for this matchup, and you know, Brock's playing a deck that has a decent amount of instants, so keeping mana up for Hallowed Moonlight is not that big of a deal.
Kind of interesting addition to the board for Brock. He's got a Tainted Remedy in the board. That's the... I'm going to read it.
We got a reader.
It's the 2 and a black enchantment. If an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead.
Well, I've seen that in a couple lists this weekend. It is an answer to life gain at its core. I guess if your opponent
shuts off Cutthroat.
It kind of does, because you still lose the life. Is
Yeah,
the problem. You both now you both just lose a life. It makes Siege Rhino, you lose 3, your opponent gains 0, which is not all that spectacular. So
I guess that's why he only has 1 of them in the board. Not the all-time best. All right, well, Well, looks like players have finished sideboarding. We're going to head into game 2 here in the semis. We had 1,851 players play in the main event here in Houston. We're down to 4. We've got 2 members of Team Chandler Fireball, the Pantheon here. And it looks like we're going to get a couple of turns here of our other match just to give us a taste until those guys are done mulliganing.
And it looks like the classic curve of Endless One into Avatar Resolute. You start with 1 mana 1/1, not too great. 2 mana 4/3, much greater.
Much greater. All right.
It's really tricky what removal suite you want to play in Standard. Andrew, playing a Dark Jeskai list, is able to piece together a lot of different ways to deal with his opponent's threats, like, for example, Roast.
All right, let's head back to our main match. It just started, so that means that both players kept their opening hands, which is good. I want to see a great match here. And it looks like turn 2 for Brock Mosley, Sylvan Advocate. Nothing yet for Turtenwald.
Yeah, and Owen doesn't have any 1-drops besides Sidisi's Faithful, or if he sideboarded in Duress. So most of his turn 1s are either fetching for a basic or fetching for a non-basic.
There's a rally off the top for Owen. You can see the double white mana already as he starts to slowly move his game plan forward. He's got an Elvish Visionary on the board now. He'll take some beats from this Sylvan Advocate, but I don't think he's particularly worried about that.
No, the Advocate doesn't present that fast of a clock, and even later when it does level up to a 4/5.
Very chumpable.
Yeah, Owen's got a lot of blockers.
Deeply chumpable.
Well, Brock has,
Nothing.
looks like a Fiery Impulse, a Goblin Dark Doors, and a Siege Rhino. So he's going to start going next turn with a Siege Rhino. That is a threat, but he's not really, drawing any of the cards he really wants to see. Anafenza, Kalidas, or Hallowed Moonlight.
There's an alien hand for Turtenwald. Will he go get black mana? He will.
He might also be looking to play Duress, though that's the kind of card that's funny, because Duress is, you frequently you're like, all right, well, you board in Duress and you're going to want to cast it before they play their spells.
Mm-hmm.
When the card you care about is Hallowed Moonlight, you actually just want to sit on Duress. You just want to wait, and then later when you want to cast Rally or Coco, you just Duress.
He just drew Tainted Remedy.
All right, I guess
He's doing it.
This does shut off Ailey's ability.
It does. But still, he just has to take this turn to play a Siege Rhino, right? Get the big beater down and worry about the Tainted Remedy later.
Yes, I would imagine Siege Rhino is a higher priority. Though, we'll see, yes. It looks like it. Oh, Pia and Kira Nalaar.
Okay.
That was a Pia and Kira Nalaar, not a Dark Dwellers. And Pia and Kira Nalaar is a better play here than Siege Rhino, because Ailey can block a Rhino, whereas the tokens can just fly over. It's also pretty good against Reflector Mage. Mage can kill one of the tokens, but you don't really want to bounce Pia or Kira Nalaar, either one.
Well, it's either both or neither. The bond is strong, but yeah. We saw Owen Turtenwald with a pair of Collected Companies in the first game and then a rally to finish things off. We haven't seen a Collected Company out of him yet, but he has now hit 4 mana. So we could be entering that stage of the game if he happens to have him in his hand. Believe he does, yes. There's a Collected Company. All right, so there's the first Collected Company of the game.
And you see it main phase because of Hallowed Moonlight.
He's playing around Hallowed Moonlight. Nice. And he hits Reflector Mage. And then Tuco Husk, and like you said, he doesn't want to bounce Pia and Kira Nalaar, but he'll take out a Thopter.
Yeah, now Brock can't cast any Thopters
Yeah,
on his next turn.
He'll be able to work around that. And is this an attack with Ailey?
Yeah, she's getting in there.
I like
She
that.
has Death Touch.
Yeah.
Brock would have to 2-for-1 himself to kill it.
Nice heads-up play there from Turtenwald. Thanks to that Nantuko Husk and any number of double blocks or sacrifices to it, Brock doesn't really have any good attacks outside of the Thopter. He's going to plink in there and drop Turtenwald down to 14 here. And now is it Siege Rhino?
I
with clock?
suspect the life totals are going to swap, or rather get further apart. Owen's going to fall to 11. Brock's going to go up to 20.
Right. That's what happens. So Turtenwald down to 11 and facing a reasonable board from Mosley, but things have been moving forward at Turtenwald's pace here for sure in game 2. He's hit each thing right on time. He hit with his collected company. He's got a rally in hand. He's also got a murderous cut.
Yeah, he's got a duress as well, so he's got a lot of what he needs to win this game. He would not mind finding a Zulaport Cutthroat, but yeah, he's got some options here. Let's see, what can he do? He can also play Elvish Visionary. He can also cast Duress. He could Reflector Mage. That could set up an attack with the Husk. So if you Reflector Mage, I guess you don't love bouncing Siege Rhino, but
no.
So I like the Duress because it gives Owen information. He's going to go ahead and decide whether he wants to take Tainted Remedy or not, but you know, it might actually be the correct call. Fire Impulse does very little on this board.
Yeah, he's just going to take the Fire Impulse away and leave him with the Tainted Remedy.
So then, if he goes Reflector Mage, bounce Siege Rhino. Again, not the target you frequently want to bounce, but it does prevent it from being replayed for at least a turn. Owen also has Murderous Cut, and then he could save the Reflector Mage. It is dangerous to use both of those. If he uses both of his removal spells, Cut and Mage, and Brock draws a Kalitas or an Anafenza, then Owen could be in a kind of tough spot. So he might want to save one of those.
How big of a problem is that Siege Rhino for Owen right now? He has the Husk. He's got some bodies. He'll have another Visionary if he wants it.
It's not too bad. He could trade 2 of his creatures for it if he wanted. He could also attack with Ailey and the Nantuko Husk, and then if Brock does something like double block Nantuko Husk, use Murderous Cut to get a pretty nice little combat step.
Lots of options here.
If he were going to do that, he could also potentially play Elvish Visionary first.
Looks like he's just going to attack with the Husk.
Brock could also just take it. Owen can't deal lethal here. And you know that you're not going to get hit by a surprise rally or anything either.
Right. No creatures in the yard yet for Turtenwald. And he's just going to block with the Siege Rhino and kind of force the issue onto Owen here. And Owen is going to certainly oblige him. And yeah, he just gets to take down the Siege Rhino here. And, you know, he's going to put a couple of creatures in the graveyard, but frankly, that's where he wants him anyway. He's going to follow up with the Reflector Mage to kill the Thopter and basically relieve all pressure from his life total.
Do you think Owen's just really worried about Brock casting a Thopter? That's why he keeps targeting Thopters?
It's like a time walk.
Brock also's got a Shambling Vent, and Sylvan Advocate is now big.
It is, but Ailey stayed back for that reason. Ailey offers a clean trade with the Advocate or the Vent. P and Kieran Nallard not quite big enough to get through a Reflector Mage, so you can see, you know, when you watch Owen Turtenwald play his turn on his side, it's not always clear until you get to the other turn and you go, oh, okay. And now Brock Mosley down to not much. He's got that Tainted Remedy in his hand. It doesn't look very good right here. And otherwise he's just got a land. Turtenwald's the one with Rally in hand.
Advocate coming in.
He's going to offer the trade here.
I like blocking.
Yeah.
The thing is, if the Advocate blocks the Husk, you have to sacrifice 2 creatures. You're fine trading your Ailey and just not worrying about it. Owen still has Murderous Cut. He still has Rally. He still has Visionary. I think Owen's in really good shape here.
You know, there's that Tainted Remedy. Currently doing very little.
Means Owen's life total is not going to go above 11 this game. He's now
Right.
locked. Put a pin in it.
Okay. I've put a pin in it.
All right. Duly noted. And Owen's going to sacrifice the Evolving Wilds, which means that now next turn he can play an Elvish Visionary and still cast a Rally for 2. It's not great. Gets back 3 creatures because he can sack a Visionary to the Husk first.
And to get the Ailey as well.
The thing is, Brock has got a 2/2 in play. That is it.
Yes.
Owen...
And he's out of gas,
Yeah.
too.
Owen is in really good shape here. Brock hasn't drawn any of his 2-for-1 cards. He hasn't figured out a way to draw extra cards. And Owen's just going to go Elvish Visionary. And if Owen draws any creature. He's in incredibly good shape. Obviously, he draws Collected Company. That's just absurd.
How about another rally?
So Rally's interesting. I could actually see Owen casting a Rally this turn. He can attack with both.
He can't rally for 3, though, right?
He can rally for 2, but assuming he sacks Visionary first, which of course he will, he rallies, he gets back 2 Visionaries, so he draws 2 cards, gets back Ailey, and then can deal a bunch of damage with Husk.
Makes sense.
Not bad, especially one reason to do that is that his hand has 2 rallies, and casting Rally takes so much mana that if he doesn't cast it now, he's still only casting 1 next turn. It would be unfortunate if Brock had drawn Hallowed Moonlight. Owen doesn't know Brock's last card, but yeah, Owen I think is going to go for a Rally here.
He's going for it. He says, "What do you got, Brock?" Brock's going to take the quick check, and Owen's going to breathe a sigh of relief, as now he knows that there's no Hallowed Moonlight in hand for Mosley. Draws 2 cards. Wow, he hit Jason Collected Company here.
That is 2 good cards. So
this could be Owen putting himself into the finals very shortly here.
So Husk is going to go up to a 10-10 unless Owen. Looks like he's going to keep Ailey back to just to prevent Shambling Vent from attacking potentially. So Husk is going to be an 8-8 because remember that one of those Visionaries essentially got devoured twice.
Right.
So Brock is, if he didn't block, taking 10 here.
He says, "Sure." Okay, so Brock's going to lose half of his life total in one fell swoop, and he needs to find something, and he needs to find it now.
Swamp?
And
Is that
found
something?
a full art swamp. Very nice artwork, but that is not going to get the job done here.
And Brock has 2 blockers. Remember, he's got that Shambling Vent hiding. Ailey's going to trigger on upkeep here. Husky goes up to a 4-4. Owen is at 11 still.
Yeah, Owen's at 11, and Brock, we have him at 10 at least last time we saw.
So Owen has another Rally, so Husk is lethal now. And he's also got a Collected Company. So presumably Husk is getting blocked, and Shambling Vent can also block the Reflector Mage. With P and Kieran Nalaar blocking Nantuko Husk, if Brock so chooses.
Okay, P and Kieran Nalaar takes one for the team.
And Husk was already a 4-4 because of the Ailey earlier. So Owen's just going to play Jason Pass and set up a Collected Company end of turn. Brock drew another land.
Another land. This has been really tough for Brock Mosley. He has just not been able to put anything together. And you're facing down a player like Owen Turtenwald, and you need everything you can get. Brock says, "Sure," but there's so little he can do here with all these lands drawn off the top. Though it does look like Owen only hit 1 creature, and it
was
wasn't
a
a very
backup
good
Jace.
one
So
here.
Owen did straight up whiff on Collected Company.
Yeah, he really did.
So
That's
that
the only
helps.
good news. But if he just goes for it here,
Brock can block with
Brock do? He's
Shambling
got a
Vent.
vent.
So, but Owen has a
Oh,
Murderous Cut as
Murderous
well
Cut,
if he
so-
wants to use it. And Owen has to worry a little bit about Hallowed Moonlight. What he could do, since he's so close to winning, is flip Jace and then duress Brock. Once he sees Brock's hand, he can just go Murderous Cut, Vent, Rally, and then end the game.
Kill you.
And Owen has enough mana so he can flip Jace, assuming Brock doesn't respond. That resolves. Duress. If Brock responds with Hallowed Moonlight, then you cast your Rally and get all your creatures back, and then you know that things are looking good.
And I think that's what Owen Turtenwald's thinking right now. Things are looking very good for him to put himself in the finals and try to capture another Grand Prix title here.
Looks like he minused on Collected Company
Okay.
and then just attacked. So now he's going to,
Activate Shambling Vent.
I believe, Murderous Cut the Shambling Vent. He might Company first in order to see if he hits a Reflector Mage.
Sure.
Can Owen miss twice on Collected Company?
Negative.
Almost, but no.
And he even hit
Cutthroat.
a Cutthroat in there.
Yeah.
He's just going to take the pair of Catacomb Sifters, though, instead. That's going to generate him another 2 Eldrazi, and he is moving towards the victory here. All he has to do is Murderous Cut this, and this is going to be in the books. Turtenwald finishes delving. Brock says, "Sure, it's not lethal yet." And we'll see some of these creatures get sacrificed to the Husk to get it up to 8 power, and that'll be it.
Owen going to scry.
Hey, tight technical play. That's Owen's game. This is bread and butter.
I thought his bread and butter was 11-4 finishes at Grand Prix. He's done much better than that.
That is going to do it. Owen Turtenwald moves on to the finals here, defeats Brock Mosley. Tough draw for Brock there in Game 2. Just could never get anything going. And Owen had 2 very solid draws for Game 1 and 2, and he picks up the victory, putting himself into the finals. And maybe another GP trophy on the mantle for Turtenwald. And this one comes with $10,000 attached to it as well. And wow, looks like we came in just for the handshake on our side match here. Andrew Cuneo puts himself into the finals as well. And we're going to get Owen Turtenwald versus Andrew Cuneo, all Pantheon finals.
Yeah, BDM asked me before the semis what my prediction was, and it was actually Owen versus Andrew in the finals, with Andrew winning. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Wow, great stuff down there in the feature match area. We've got one more match to bring you today, and that's going to do it, though, for the semifinals. Hi there. Hello there, and welcome back to the